Good evening, everybody. DJ Styles here at Custom Corpses. Okay, we're sneaking it in. And this will be, I don't know how I'm going to name this mask. It's not done yet, but we're really getting close. I'm thinking it's a combination of everything. It's the flashback mask. It's the screen. I want to say the poster, the cover poster of Halloween 4 and 5. It's got all the looks. And let me point out. Okay, I got my little pointer out here in front of me because I have this zoomed in to give you the actual look of the size. Okay, on the flashback look, these areas here on both sides of the eyes are bumped out like it is on the flashback. I lowered these features here so they're not as dramatic. I still have to lower some more, I think, just a little bit more. Okay, in the cheek areas, I cut them back further. I literally went back further and I made them so they line up the eyelids here. They overhang over the cheek, or they're dead even. You know, they're pretty much dead even. That was probably the thing that I think that I overlooked in my original sculptures, was the cheek lines were not anatomy correct. They weren't correct. The jawline is cut back. All this area right in here, literally I shaved it all the way down and cut it back. I lowered those lips. Now the lip line I did a while back, but I kept the lip lines where I did have them. I had the bulge here on the lip. These are cut out nice. The lips look really good. I had to change my lighting up here. See how that's like literally coming straight down right between both sides, because I couldn't get an accurate look on the mask without having the lighting correct. As I was cutting these back, then I discovered that this one side of the cheek was way too thin. It was coming in like right in here, and I bulged that out some more at the top and then cut it in around underneath here. I widened from the nostril to the base of the cheek, how it comes in over here. I thought that came in I brought it in a little too steep on both sides. But I fixed that. There's so many little things that I've done to this to change this entire look. It's given you the flashback look, the original mask look. Can I do the flashback exactly? Yes, I can. I could even replicate that by doing the eye cuts on this. They're the whole brow area is really protruding out more, and this is cut way back so it follows. So you can see the shadowing underneath it here, the natural shadowing from the lighting, because this brow area really protrudes out way past the undercuts of the eyes. And mine, they cut out there. This definitely is protruding further out than the bottom portions of the eyes. All these little things I'm pointing out to you. Anybody that knows anything about the sculpting would understand what I'm talking about here. If you really don't know sculpting, then you may not, understand what I'm talking about as far as how this features. Let me just say, if you're new to sculpting, the one thing you have to do is really study the anatomy of the human body. When it comes to the human body, everything's based off of the human body. When you're making monsters, anything that you're doing, we're trying to make a monster out of a human, or you know, you still have to follow the human anatomy unless you're completely doing something alien. But if you're trying to replicate human in any way, you know, the human anatomy is, you know, your cheek lines, everything has to be, you know, in the right perspective. The jaw line, the cheek line, and then what makes us, each and every one of us, different is those features do change just a little bit on each and every one of us. But the human skull, if you strip away all the muscles, the tendons, the flesh, and you get down to the human skull, you look at human skulls and they pretty much all look alike. You know, they're pretty close to, you can't tell the difference on anything on a human skull. So it's kind of strange. It's a weird thing, but study the anatomy and really know, you know, how all these features actually have to be measured. You know, how far out the brow is compared to where the cheek line is. You know, in other words, if I'm looking straight up and down on this, the cheek line, you know what, I'll zoom out and I'll just tell you, I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, see, I zoomed out there. Now, I'm doing an overhead look. All right, you notice, you see how like the brow, like the eye line, that is like overhanging from this. All right, but you look at the cheek lines, see how they cut back, and they're almost even, straight across. Well, this side was bulged out a little bit too far. Both of them were out too far. I literally had to cut them back this way. I cut them all down and back. And there was a lot of things that I had to do to bring this look in correctly. The lip, you see that there? Well, in the, if we're trying to replicate the mask, there was a bulge on this side of the lip. You can actually see the 2018. See, it's got the bulge right here. You know, but I'm trying to give it, you know, all the looks. I've shortened the nose. There's a lot that I've done to this sculpture. Yeah, and I'm trying to give it the actual the eye cuts. I followed the flashback mask on this one. My other sculptures are more aimed at the Halloween original 78 eye cuts. Now there's such a slight difference in the eye cuts. On the flashback, up the bridge of the eyelid goes up a little bit higher here, and then it cuts down. It cuts down like this on an angle, and then cuts back into the mask. Let me zoom into that eye cut. Can you see how that cuts back in? And then even on the underneath part right here, I cut that further back in, so when the mask is made, it's going to give you that really cool look. Hard to explain, but this is it so far, basically, guys. This is it's coming into its own. It's starting to look good. I still got some cutting. I got to cut some of this cheek off over here. Let me do this way. I got to cut some of this cheek off over in this area just a little bit more. Cut back a little bit more over here, but not too much more to give it the right look. I added a bunch of clay over here because this side of the face was just way too narrow. It just didn't match up to the other side. So I had to bump this cheek out, you know, and I brought it from like up here all the way down to the base here. So all this in here I added a bunch of clay. And then what I have to do is I'm cutting it back now. I added more than I needed. So this way I can cut it back with the tools until I bring it into the shape where I feel like it's really close. And this is what I'm talking about. You see how that's, see, I added this, all this clay in here. Yes, I used this picture here. I'm using different, like I got pictures, I'm using all different things, but this here gives you a real good rendition of you know, I'm using combinations of looks to create this mask. This is going to be its original own sculpture. I thought about doing the flashback and calling it flashback. I don't know. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm still up and down about it because let's just say I got a heads up, that this flashback mask is going to be in production, and they're not going to take it lightly if somebody replicates that mask to a T. And I just don't think that replicating that mask is a good idea to an exact copy of that mask. It's different when you're trying to shoot for the original 1978 original Michael Myers mask. I think that's a little bit different because I don't think there's really anybody stopping people from doing that original mask. But I still think you're limited. You're not allowed to sell a lot of them. You can't mass produce these. There's copyright laws, and I don't know. I just can't wait till I start doing my own masks. I just kind of want to get away from the Michael Myers thing. As soon as I put together a masterpiece that I feel really, really good about, that I like as my original art and my original, take on the Michael Myers, masks. It's my sculpture. It's not a replication of this. It's not a replication of, there's a mask behind it. There's no replications of any of, like, it's far cry different looking than this even. My original sculpture, it is so much different. There's so many different things that I've done to it, feature wise, and lips, the way the jawline is, just everything's so different. This has got the best of all worlds wrapped up into one, all the features. That's what I'm aiming to do. I still have to do the ear over here. That is still messed up and the neckline still has to be fixed. I've been focusing on just the face and the top of the head. Like basically this whole area here I've been working on and trying to hone that in. This other stuff here is all easy to do. It's actually very easy to do. Some people say ears are difficult. I find them extremely easy. I had that ear right there. I had that repaired in probably, oh my God, 15 minutes, and it was done. But you have to remember when you're retooling, because I use a very hard clay. I don't use a soft clay. And this is monster clay. I use the brown, tan, whatever you want to call it. But I use the monster clay in their hardest formula. And why I like to use the hardest clay is because I like using tools. I don't really sculpt, especially when you get down to the real details of this sculpture. You have to use tools because your hands are never going to be able to get it smooth. So why not start out with tools and use a hard clay? You melt your clay. I got my crock pot right back here. You melt your clay as you're putting it on your armature, and then you got to build it out to bring it to the features that, here it is. It just takes a lot. There's probably like 3 inches of clay on this whole armature in depth. all around it, you know, in some areas even thicker. But what I'm getting at is when you get down to the fine tuning of your mask, you're definitely using tools. At least I do. And the other reason why I like using the hard clay is because when I demold this, after I put my stone and I make my two halves, you know, the front half and then the back half, once I demold this will get damaged a little bit, but not too bad. All right. And that's why I'm able to retool the original sculpture and then just keep working off of that. This way I'm not spending literally months doing the shape again. The shape is pretty much on the money. It doesn't change the shape. You might get a little scratch, a little eye, you know, the eye gets a little ripped over here, the mouth gets a little messed up, the nose gets a little bit messed up, but nothing dramatic. Definitely the ears get affected because there's some locking. There's some locking. It's when you put the stone on there, there's going to be locking spots. And wherever the lock is, because the stone gets hard, the clay is soft compared to stone. And when you pull that apart, wherever there's a little bit of a lock, it's going to damage the sculpture. So basically what I do is I never have to take the clay off this armature. As a matter of fact, I'm never going to. And once I'm done the Michael Myers thing, I'm just going to change this and do something to this. Maybe a zombie. I'm going to change the entire shape of the face, the head. You know, it's not going to look like Michael Myers. But it still comes down to what I call retooling a sculpture. After I'm done with this, there's no purpose to take all the clay off. There's no reason to take all the clay off your armature. So, especially if you're using monster clay, because this stuff doesn't harden, it never dries out. You know, I can walk away for this for 5 months and come back and go right back to sculpting it, as long as I dust it off real good, make sure it's clean, the surface. You know, you might throw something over top of it, like, you know, maybe a towel. This stuff gets soft with heat. Like if I keep that ball, I have a ball of clay right there. I was keeping that in my hand, and by the time I was, you know, ready to do things with it, it was real soft and pliable. I can just pinch a piece off and put it right on. But over about 10-15 minutes, it hardens right back up again. But like I said, I'm bouncing around on the subject. I've done a lot of changes to the features. I've done a lot of things to it. I've also done some thinking after I've been told about the possible making of the flashback mask with copyright. You know, I don't want to get something. You know, it's funny. Like I said, you can't sell too many anyway. You know, so the biggest thing is, you know, I guess the biggest thing is you don't want to get nailed for copyright, especially at my age. I'm not really. This is just retirement. This is not for mass production, and I'm not trying to infringe upon anybody's mass. You know, I guess it is. It's still infringement. It's still infringement. I openly know that, and so does everybody else. But you know, I'm not getting rich off of it, and I don't really care. I'm just doing it for enjoyment. So it's it is you know, it's for the collectors. It's out there for I guess I make this mask really for the collector, not so much for the average person. You know, you have to really, really, really love Michael Myers to invest in one of these. But you're actually buying art. You're not buying a mask for, like, I guess most people that buy these masks from independent artists, they're put right on a shelf. They never wear them. They never wear them. They're there for the collector. They usually just put them right on their shelf. They don't ever wear these. So it's a different format of what, I guess it's a different purpose on creation of these masks. I'm tired, guys. Sorry. I've been at this for several hours, working on this. You know, I've been trying to video. It just takes so long. I'll spend 2 hours, you know, doing such a small amount of work that doesn't really doesn't film well. So I try to explain what I did. You know, I try to explain the things that I'm doing as I go along, instead of putting a 2-hour video that barely shows any change. You know, you're not really seeing a lot of change. So I'm just taking you along the way and then explaining it to you as what I've done. And it's just a little easier for you to understand. I can't teach anyone how to sculpt. That's an impossible task. You either know how, you're either born with a gift or you don't. And I can teach you techniques, and I can give you tidbits of you know, what you should study. Human anatomy is definitely a must if you're doing things in human form. I just I feel like you can't teach people how to be a good artist. It's just not, it's not possible. You know, I envy some of the people out there that I watch, and that's Nick Malpagano and who else? I you know, especially Alan Hops. Alan Hops, he'll even say it, he's not the greatest artist, but I beg to differ, and I'll tell you why. Because one, he can sit down and sculpt out a mask in 2 hours. Yes, he's not throwing high detail. He's not trying to replicate a human face like this, or replicate anything. You know, he's creating his own monster, so it doesn't have to actually look exactly like something. You know, so I can't wait to get to that point where I don't have to spend 6 months to a year sculpting a Myers mask, because there's so much. You're trying to replicate something, and that is, phew, man, it's not easy. So all respect out there to the guys that are doing these masks, that really have nailed it, because it's not easy. It's not an easy mask to do. But anyway, like I said, I watch Alan Hops now. I find that man amazing, because he just absolutely comes up with some of the most creative stuff I've ever seen. And not only is he creative in that department, he's creative in what materials he comes up with, and knowing how to, you know, he'll take, you know, in a very expensive way of doing it, and then find a cheap way of doing it, which is cool. Ultimately awesome, badass. But and Nick Malpagano, you've been doing these Myers masks for as long as I can remember watching your videos. Hats off to you, brother. It's just, you know, you dive into this thing and you think, you know, you got the arrogance of like, well, I have all this experience with woodworking and everything, but I've done some whittling, but not a lot. I can't say I've done a lot of whittling with like making ducks and animals and stuff like that. But I always had something like an object of reference to be able to whittle something. I wasn't going off of pictures. Like this was basically off of all pictures, most of it. And like I said, going back to Nick, he's been, you know, he's really good at what he's done with these masks. And now there's some people will say that they've liked somebody else's, which is fine. And it's just it's preference. You know, what is it about a mask that you love? Some guys will look at my mask and go, oh, that's okay, and then they'll see. And then some guys will look at it and go, wow, that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's, you know, it just, the differences in these masks can be so minute, so small. But at the same time, if you do not have the correct look right here in this face, you do not have a Michael Myers mask, and it's very difficult to achieve this. It really is. So hats off to all you creators out there that are mask makers that are tackling this subject. Michael Myers. It's a, like I said, it's a hard piece of art to conquer, and you know, and there's guys out there, you know, and I'm skipping over some people because there's some masks out there that I've seen that were absolutely amazing, and from different companies, and I just can't remember off the top of my head the names, so forgive me, guys. But I always look at their mask and maybe point of reference. I usually like to copy the original 78. I don't really like to go too far from that. And I've always loved the artwork that was on Halloween for the cover mask. Always loved that, because I think that that cover mask on the cover, the cover art, the mask had such an attitude. It gave such an attitude. Then I saw Nick actually replicate that cover mask, and I thought, I don't want to copy what he's doing. So I still have the elements of that cover mask in here, but I don't have the exact, like my lips are not quite as big. You know, it's just elements, like the cheek line's just a little bit different, the way it cuts in. And then there's this little, and then you got the double check mark into the eye cuts, or the eye right at the end of the, all right, let me see if I can point to that. Right in here, there's like a double little check mark, and I'm not doing that to this. I'm sticking with the original mask itself. Didn't have that. The cover art did, but the mask itself didn't. And you know, there's just little elements that I'm keeping, and then not, and in some cases not using, to give it your own spin, you know. But you still want it to look like Michael Myers. Definitely, you want that. You want all the features. But it's the subtle things that makes it your own. When you make those changes, and you do it, I'm doing it on purpose. I'm not trying to do this replicate to an exact, like I can copy somebody else's work. I don't want to make it exact. Somebody else, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's the point? It's already done. Why bother? Because they can always just buy that mask, or you know, maybe it's not available. That could be the problem too. But collector really wants that mask. Usually, or they already have it, or they would pay top dollar to get it, you know. If something's out of production, that's a different story, but why not make my version something that everybody wants to get their hands on? That's the key. That's what I'm trying to aim to do. I'm actually trying to come up with my own version of this Michael Myers, and my line is Custom Corpses, and all my Michael Myers masks will say NightCreeper, but what version of the NightCreeper? So it comes down to NightCreeper Kills, NightCreeper 78, NightCreeper 81, which 81 is going to be done after this. I think 81's, I think this actually could be the 81, to tell you the truth. But it has the features of the flashback right in here. I don't know. Maybe I call this the 81. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do yet. So I'll tell you what, guys. You give me the name of this mask. What do we call it? It's got all the elements. It's got the flashback look. It's got the 81 look. It's got the 78 look. It's got, it doesn't have the age look. It's going to be, you know, it's going to look more, you know, back to the original. And this will be in production in the spring. I'll have this ready for, you know, for making the mold in the spring. which then I'll actually have all the other ones molded too by then. You know, I'll have the kills. I'll have the 2018 H40. That'll be in production, and I'll have the 78 done too. But I'm just coming up. I got to come up with a name for this one because I think it's, yeah. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. What do you think? It's gonna be Custom Corpses, NightCreeper, what? Fill in the blank. What's gonna be there? NightCreeper, can't be kills. I already did that one. Can't be 78, did that one. I'm thinking 81 or flashback. Which one do you guys call this? What would you call this? Flashback or 81? You know, because I think it's got the combination look of the 81 along with the flashback. It's got a combination of everything. It's not, I've seen the 81 and it looks totally different. It doesn't look quite like this. The eye cuts are stretched out further. The features are very subtle because when he stretched out the mask, he lost a lot of these features. Although the cover art of the Halloween 4 and 5 was actually, there was a book and there's a still shot of Dick Warlock wearing the mask in shadows. You could really see all these features. You know, I can show it to you later on another day. I'll put it on screen. And but all the features gave you this look right here. The 81. If anything, I would say that this looks closest to the 81 than all of the masks combined. It's a combination of, I'll tell you what it looks like. It's a combination of 81, a little bit of 78, but I'm going to say mainly 81 and the cover mask, the Halloween 4 cover mask. So it's Halloween cover mask versus 81. I think that's what this mask looks like the most. But I don't know what to call it. Now I'm confused because I'm bringing this in where I like it, and I don't know what to call this mask. Thanks to, but actually I'm glad I got the heads up on this, the flashback mask being possibly in production. They didn't say it was, but they did say that it's probably going to be available on next Halloween. So let's just say that. And why replicate it to an exact? I guess some people would do it. You know, I like to try and keep my stuff original as much as possible. Anyway, it's 33 minutes into this video, and I definitely want to say goodnight to everybody. Have a wonderful and blessed weekend. Be safe. If you guys are out partying, be extra safe. You know, if I haven't said it enough, I'm going to say it again. Happy New Year. And hopefully you got some hopefully this year's a lot better than the last. So, anyway, let's see. Was there anything else? Yeah. Hit the like. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and share my content. I really appreciate it. And just keep it real. And this is all for fun. And I really love it. It's a new passion for an old man. Peace, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.